So even this step of lowering the customs duty, it is going to be important even uh, to promote the infrastructure for even green hydrogen facilities. They are uncompetitive. So it makes the setting of the green hydrogen facilities uncompetitive. So even there also, the solar modules are used as an important element. So manufacturing capacity, although we are again increasing the domestic manufacturing capacity of the solar photovoltaic cells, so currently it stands at 3 gigawatt. Majority of module manufacturing capacity depends upon the imports. So majorly dependent upon the imports. And experts estimate the renewable energy plants setup cost constitutes more than 50% the overall cost of setting up a green hydrogen facility. So more than, we can say, 50% of the cost, it depends upon the solar modules, even if when we're talking about setting up a green hydrogen facility. So that is why it is important to reduce the customs duty. So which can be done by the government. And here we have the technical details for the National Green Hydrogen Mission. So we have, apart from this, we've also talked about what are the different types of hydrogen, like blue hydrogen, brown hydrogen, gray hydrogen. So all of these are there. So in blue hydrogen, we talk about carbon capture. Green hydrogen, it is completely safe in terms of the byproducts that it releases. So that is not environmentally harmful. So here we have specifically India's footwear market, which is again going to be important for the MSME sector. So here also we're launching the production linked incentive scheme. So for the additional output or the manufacturing, incremental manufacturing will be provided with certain financial incentives. So this is again a step to boost the domestic production. However, the final approval, it is yet to come. So India is the second largest producer of footwear, contributing 13% to the worldwide production. So India becomes a critical part of the global supply chain as well, as far as the footwear industry is concerned. So India imports 80% of the footwear from China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh, with China being the largest supplier. So here we need to ensure, as you also talk about this point, with the countries that we're signing free trade agreements or the negotiations are still undergoing. So one important point which India always raises is that rules of origin that needs to be very clear and transparent. That needs to be mentioned on whatever imports or the countries, whatever exports they are doing. So this is one thing. And 35% customs duty on the footwear imports priced this much. So India is, we can say, a competitive player in the footwear industry. So here we can say we are import dependent upon not the final product, but the raw materials which are required, because they are again cheaply available in these markets of China, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. So vibrant Gujarat Global Summit would be there in Gujarat. So Prime Minister would also be present, and the theme is Gateway to the Future. 20 years of the Vibrant Gujarat Summit. So we'll be seeing participation of the international companies. So here we can see focus upon technology, like technology and the globally relevant topics. So in terms of investment, industry 4.0, then like we can talk about the industrial revolution 4.0, technology and innovation, artificial intelligence, sustainable manufacturing, green hydrogen, electric mobility. So one whole area would be about sustainable development and renewable energy. So e-mobility, startups, blue economy is important, green energy, smart infrastructure. So these are the keywords. Making India an export hub. So it is specifically from chairman of Panasonic Life Solutions Industry says that, so from these different viewpoints, we get to know about what do they hold about, what do they think about India as a market, and whether it can really become an export hub specifically here. So understanding is not only to consider India as a market opportunity, but also to build capabilities. So we also look at ourselves to be the hub to export to the Middle East and Africa and Europe from here. So even the geographical location of India supports this, the vision that we have, being a global manufacturing hub. And internationally also, when we look at different economic conditions, be it like the economic slowdown in China, so we have that opportunity with us to be here. So this we talked about yesterday also, software as a service, and prelims we already have had a question on this. Software is provided as a service, so it is clear from the name itself. And the examples we talked about, that Google or Yahoo, all of that. The examples of IT firms are also there, specifically ER&D, that is engineering and research and development. So this is going to be in the bright spot. So different tie-ups which are named. Sell to means you'll be selling those services, the software services, and sell with. So sell with would be in collaboration with two or more companies. Like we have in case of joint ventures, we talk about the funding is provided by a well-established capitalist or a corporate to a newly emerging startup. So 3 of the 10 highest paid Infosys or Wipro employees, they quitted in 2023. So while it companies like their people are, they're getting paid in a better manner, but still they are quitting. So the reasons can be that income is not just the only criteria of, again, the inner satisfaction or the happiness. So the development comes amid the multiple senior executives, even they are leaving the IT firms to join the rivals and the peers. So this is also one of the things in the private sector, that if you're getting a better pay in some another company, be it your rival company, so you're ready to switch. So these things keep happening in the private sector. And yeah. So we are also seeing that even people, they are getting into starting up their own businesses also. So they are moving towards even self-employment as well. So, this feeling is always there that you have to start something on your own. So when you feel that you have achieved that saturation level and you can start with something new, so then also people quit. So non-banking financial company assets under management to sustain growth in Q3. So this is not so important. Commercial paper issuances we have talked about. To rise as RBI expands the issuer eligibility. We talked about that other players, REITs and REITs, they can also participate in them. And in detail, we've also talked about non-convertible debentures and convertible debentures also. So on convertible debentures, there was already a question in prelims. So in convertible debentures, we talked about, Osha, can you mention the specific features of the convertible debentures?
Once you can specify.
In equity. Ashik?
You can specify, Mansi.
Okay, so convertible debentures are the ones which you can get converted into the equity shares also. So when we compare with the returns of non-convertible and the convertible debentures, so in case of convertible debentures, the returns are relatively less, because returns in the sense the fixed interest that you get paid. So in convertible debentures, since you can get them converted into equity shares, so there the chances of covering up that gap increases, and also these are considered to be more safe in terms of the indexation of the inflation. So that is the benefit of convertible debentures.
So, are they secured or secured?
Pravesh, can you repeat your question?
I am saying, are they secured or unsecured bonds?
These are unsecured debentures. These are not bonds, but these are debenture instruments. So these are different from bonds, completely different from bonds.
What is the difference?
We have discussed the differentiation between three. We compared all these three things: equity, debentures, and bonds. So debentures and bonds are completely different things.
That is what I'm asking. What is the difference? Can you specify?
Okay, difference you're asking. So bonds are kind of debt instruments where you can say ki they are completely, or we can say they are much more safer when we are comparing with either debentures or equities, because they are backed by the government. So that is one of the reasons you have safer returns there, although it might be a little bit lesser, but they are safer. And plus you can invest for a substantial longer time period when it comes to bonds. And in case of talk about debentures and the equity, so in basically preferential shares also we talk about this term also. So the name is clear in terms of preferential shares that they are issued for a specific, we can say, entities. And in case of debentures and equities, they are listed. Debentures are not listed. You can't trade in debentures. You can trade in equities. So equities and debentures are less volatile, but equities are more volatile.
Okay, so if I say that a convertible debenture is usually an unsecured bond as there is no primary collateral interlinked to the debt. So will this statement be correct or incorrect?
No, I won't say, अरे that's what I've said ना कि आप debentures को bonds नहीं बोल सकते हो, but they are unsecured. The convertible ones are unsecured because you don't have to keep any collateral for that. So we're talking about systematically important banks. So here this article is talking about ki how we can identify them. So systematically important banks, if we just think about them, so for the stability of the entire financial system, the institutions which are too big to fail, these are called systematically important banks or institutions. So here this is specifically for the banks. So suppose there is a bankruptcy in such a kind of an institution or a bank, like for example SBI is one of them, or HDFC Bank is one of them, ICICI Bank is one of them. So if there is such a news of that there are chances of bankruptcy or a big default, so it can create panic in the entire financial market, in the entire system, and it can lead to instability, it can lead to liquidity crisis, it can lead to bank run. So these system, their healthy functioning is very important for the entire stability, for the entire, we can say, sustainability of the financial system when we talk about the systematically important banks. So RBI recently said SBI, HDFC, ICICI Bank, they will continue to be the systematically important banks. So these are the three banks which have these, which are under this category. And with this, when we look at the indicators to identify them, so here we look at exact indicators if they are given or not. Okay, so it is not mentioned over here. So simply यहाँ पे in general terms it is mentioned कि which are large in size, they have cross jurisdictional activities also, they conduct the complex and layered transactions, high level of interconnectedness with the overall financial markets. So these are some of the basic, you can say, over the top indicators which we can say classifies or identify systematically important banks. So otherwise we can say that the total proportion of the credit that you provide in the entire market, that can be one of the things. And secondly, we can say um, the non-performing assets ratio, that can be one of the indicators. Then we can talk about even the capital adequacy ratio, so which we also talk about in the context of the risk weighted assets ratio. So capital adequacy ratio is called that also. So these are synonymous terms for that. Dynamic bond funds. So since we have mutual funds, so we have different types of funds. So we'll also talk about the arbitrage funds also. So dynamic bond funds में here we see that majority is adjusted when, so dynamic term ये है कि there are less number of restrictions, so the chances of again even easy exit. And dynamic in the sense कि since the market situation also changes suddenly, so it can be in sync with that also. So the amount or the percentage of risk is less in the dynamic bond funds. So you have flexibility. You can adjust your portfolio's duration, positioning based on the prediction, the interest rate movement. So these are more flexible.
Firstly, if we have to understand the arbitrage fund, so can you
Yes.
identify
I'll take that thing. Yes, I'll take that thing in detail. We have a dedicated article on that also. So by the name only, you can, identify these. These are not like, these are not named in such a manner. Like we have proper, mutual funds. So dynamic funds, these are named so that you can identify if you wish to invest in that, you can easily invest your money in that, in those funds. So these are different types. So categories are there. semiconductors and the talent. So I talk about the colleges, universities, or the higher educational institutions. So since we talked about Taiwan's TSMC, it is the world's leading producer of the semiconductor chips, and even Taiwan, it dominates globally also in the production of these chips. So India right now, it is dependent upon, but again, we are having a dedicated mission also, which is launched by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Semiconductors Mission. And these are also called fab units. So the designing of these chips is completely different from manufacturing them. So these are two very, we can say it requires high amount of technical know-how, high amount of expertise. So that's there. So even Skill India mission is going to be fruitful here. So things have to be work, they have to work in synergetic manner. So India as a global hub for ESDM is Electronic Systems Design and Manufacturing. So just mentioning about designing and then manufacturing, these are two different areas regarding the chips. So Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana focuses upon the skills, the skilling of the youth. So this is an important scheme. And then Sankalp scheme. So skills acquisition, knowledge awareness for the livelihood promotion. So this is also focusing upon training 10 million people across the sectors, including semiconductor industry. This we've discussed police station, smart policing, how technology can help us. So income poverty, multidimensional poverty. So here one important thing from the perspective of prelims are different committees that have been formed. So Vaikala committee, or these are different committees which are there. So here we also should know the chronology of the committees that have been formed. So multidimensional poverty is something which is very broader than the income poverty. So here, whether you're having accessibility to the basic services, the financial inclusion, and then again, even income is a part of this. Then access to even educational services, accessibility of availability and affordability, these factors, they come under this thing. So despite the impressive growth we're seeing, poverty, it fell just 0.3% per annum between 2019, 2023-24. So it reflects that if this is the picture, that despite the impressive growth, so we can say that still income inequality is also increasing. There is inequality in terms of even regional growth also. We can also say that although if suppose nominal income has increased, but it does not mean that real income has also increased. So that can be also one of the reasons of seeing poverty elevation at just 0.3% per annum. And COVID-19 can also be one of the reasons behind that. Apart from this, we can also talk about the projects that we are having, the schemes that we are having for even formalization of the economy. We talk about inclusive growth. So the development of the migrant population, that is important. But again, the thing is that we had also the challenge of inflation also. So that was also one of the factors we can say has not contributed to that proportionate level of poverty elevation as per the expectations. So free movement regime in Myanmar, this we've already discussed. What is generative AI? This is done. Okay, we can take up the Hindi newspaper. Divya,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
start.
Okay. सांथो आर्ट कार्निवल फेस्टिवल के बारे में है, ये बेंगलोर में मनाया जाता है।
ठीक है। तो ये किस चीज के ऊपर है कार्निवल? संथे आर्ट, संथे क्या है यहाँ पे?
ये नहीं पता मुझे, संथे आर्ट कर्नाटक बेंगलुरु से रिलेटेड है। यहाँ पर है कि प्रदूषण को रोकने के लिए वैज्ञानिक अध्ययन करेगा प्रदूषण नियंत्रण बोर्ड। जब हम 2006 में पर्यावरण प्रभाव आकलन अधिनियम आया था, जिसके तहत ये निश्चित किया गया था कि कुछ पर्यावरण गतिविधियों को करने से पहले ये मंजूरी ली जाएगी कि वो पर्यावरण के लिए हानिकारक तो नहीं है। तो उसके लिए CBCP, जो केंद्रीय प्रदूषण नियंत्रण बोर्ड को काम सौंपा गया है, जो पत्थर तोड़ने वाली इकाई है, उनसे कितना नुकसान हो रहा है, फिर वो किस तरह से हानि पहुंचा रही है, उसका वैज्ञानिक अध्ययन करे और उसके बारे में जानकारी प्राप्त करे, जिसके अंदर जो नेशनल ग्रीन ट्रिब्यूनल है उसको भी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दी गई है इस चीज की। यहाँ है कि बागवानी क्षेत्र का विकास बढ़ाने के लिए जो बागवानी भारतीय बागवानी अनुसंधान संस्थान है, उसके थ्रू 54 बागवानी फसलों पर काम किया जा रहा है, जो उष्णकटिबंधीय फल सब्जी फसलों के माध्यम से 300 से अधिक किस्म विकसित करेंगे, जैसे GM क्रॉप्स या BT कॉटन की बात करते हैं, जिन पर जो टेम्परेचर में या फिर जो डिजीज होती है वो हार्म नहीं पहुंचा पाती। इस तरह की किस्में विकसित की जाएंगी ताकि जो कृषि जो फार्मर की आय है उसको इंक्रीज किया जा सके। और जो कृषि अर्थव्यवस्था में अगर हम बागवानी का योगदान देखते हैं तो 33% देखने के लिए मिलता है। इसके अलावा जब हम भारतीय कृषि अनुसंधान परिषद की बात करते हैं तो बेंगलुरु में है। इसके अलावा किसान सुविधा काउंटर की शुरुआत की गई है।
ठीक है। इसको इन शॉर्ट जल्दी थोड़ा कवर करने की कोशिश करना।
इसमें UNDP के थ्रू मानव विकास सूचकांक दिया गया है, जिसमें 132वें स्थान पर है भारत। तो किस तरह से 2024 में जो ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड में कंडीशन है उसको देखते हुए और विदेशी मुद्रा भंडार या फिर जो रोजगार है, स्कीम्स हैं, और उसको किस तरह से भारत नियंत्रित करेगा और उसकी आगे क्या क्या चुनौतियां रहेंगी और किस तरह की पॉलिसी अपनाई जाएगी। क्योंकि हम देखते हैं कि IT जो क्षेत्र है उसमें नौकरी छोड़ी जा रही है, लेकिन वहीं जब हम इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स की या विमांस की बात करते हैं तो वहां पर कुछ कौशल चाहिए, स्किल्स चाहिए। तो उनके लिए अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था कि संकल्प और PM कौशल विकास योजनाएं जैसी योजनाएं लाई गई हैं। उसके अलावा जब हम विनिर्माण, खाद्यान्न या फिर खनन उद्योगी में वृद्धि देखते हैं कि किस तरह से जो टूरिज्म है उसको प्रमोट किया जा रहा है, इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट के लिए उन चीजों को इंक्रीज किया जा रहा है। उसके अलावा देखते हैं जो डिजिटल की बात करते हैं कि एथिकल AI के यूज की बात करते हैं। G20 में देखते हैं कि G20 में घोषित किया था कि भारत मध्य पूर्वी यूरोपीय आर्थिक कॉरिडोर बनाया जाएगा, जो बेल्ट एंड रोड इनिशिएटिव की काट होगा। उसके अनुसार देख सकते हैं कि भारत में जो विदेशी निवेश है, FDI है, उनका इंक्रीज हुआ है, जबकि अगर स्थान देखें तो वहां पर 20 देशों में से 8वें स्थान पर है भारत। तो उस चीज में गति हो रही है, उस चीज में वृद्धि हो रही है। भारत दुनिया की 5वीं अर्थव्यवस्था बन गया है, तो उसको तीसरी अर्थव्यवस्था बनाने तक उनको किन किन चीजों पर काम करना पड़ेगा। जैसे जिन चीजों के लिए राष्ट्र चरित्र निर्माण है, उनके लिए अलग अलग तरह की नीति अपनानी पड़ेगी। तो महंगाई को नियंत्रण रखना पड़ेगा, जो सरकार पर कर्ज है उसको रोकना पड़ेगा, निर्यात को बढ़ाना पड़ेगा, जो हमारी डिपेंडेंसी है इंपोर्ट पर उसको कम करना पड़ेगा, और जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत का है उसको बढ़ाना पड़ेगा।
ठीक है। तो ये पूरा इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के अराउंड बात हो रही है, इम्प्रूविंग द स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग और ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। दैट इज वी कैन से वन साइड ऑफ द पिक्चर। ठीक है। कल्प मेधा।
जो व्यक्ति सत्य के साथ कर्तव्य परायणता में समर्पण भाव से लीन होता है, उसके मार्ग में बाधक होना कोई सरल कार्य नहीं है। रविंद्रनाथ ठाकुर। मतलब जो अपना पूरे कर्तव्य और सत्य के साथ अपने काम को ही कर रहा है, उसके लिए वही सबसे सर्वोत्तम है। तो उसके मार्ग में अगर कठिनाई आ भी गई या फिर कठिनाइयों को लाना बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है, वो उन्हें पार करके आगे बढ़ जाता
तब सच्चाई से ऊपर कुछ भी नहीं है। तो अगर कोई बाधक भी बनने की कोशिश करते हैं तो वो भी ऐसे इंसान के सामने बाधक बनना बहुत मुश्किल कार्य है।
है। यह भारत श्रीलंका के बीच में भूमि संपर्क बढ़ाने के लिए जो पूर्वोत्तर मन्नार है और दक्षिण में पुल बनाने की बात की जा रही है कि उनके बीच में, ताकि जो जमीन संपर्क है उसको बढ़ाया जा सके। जहाँ तमिल जनसंख्या वाले जो पूर्वी हिस्सा है उस वहां पर।
और पूर्वोत्तर मन्नार केरला में लोकेटेड है, केरला स्टेट में। और हमने कभी रिसेंटली एक फेरी सर्विस भी स्टार्ट करी थी, दैट वाज बिटवीन श्रीलंका एंड तमिलनाडु, ये लिखा भी आई थिंक यहाँ पे, नहीं वो LTT के बारे में। ठीक है, now we can take up Indian Express and the Mint newspaper. So firstly, we'll cover up the Mint. Okay, so we have 3 important articles. So zoonotic diseases, which can spread from animals to humans. So examples we should know: Nipah virus, Zika virus, and the common zoonotic diseases, they can spread through even bacteria, virals, like viruses and parasite also. And other common examples is rabies, anthrax, brucellosis, plague. So we should know the vector of all these diseases. And coming to what has been the government's approach, so one important data is that 75% of new infections, these in the past 3 decades, they have been zoonotic diseases. So that is why their control and regulation becomes important. So we have at the institutional level the National Center for Disease Control. So they are focusing upon disease surveillance, then better understanding of the specific drivers behind these zoonotic diseases in order to be better prepared. So when we talk about One Health, so we are having the National One Health mission also. One Health means comprehensively dealing with the human health and the animal health. And also because of the lack of diagnostic facilities also, we can say certain zoonotic diseases, they are also part of neglected diseases. So this is there. And as we're talking about the rooftop solar panels, so since we are seeing not so encouraging response towards this scheme, so net metering is needed. So that net metering is basically connecting these rooftop solar installations and the electricity which is generated with the main electricity grid, so that even the households, even the farmers also can sell that surplus electricity and also earn additional amount of income. And currently, even in terms of the ease of installing these rooftop solar panels, the that would also be improved. So for that, the permissions right now, like we require permissions from the power supplier, the distribution companies, and the municipal authorities. So some ease would also be introduced here. It would be relaxed. And then soil from the landfill sites, this would be used for building of the roads. So since we know about the disposal of the solid waste that is specifically generated in the urban areas, that is a huge problem. So this is one of the innovative ideas where we can use that soil from the landfill sites for building roads. And second reform in terms of the waste disposal is engineered landfill sites that we have seen. One is being, it is almost going to be functional in Delhi. So that's there. And apart from this, this would also help in reducing the cost of production of these road projects. That would be somewhere around 10% reduction in the total cost. So that's important. And Gati Shakti portal would also be helpful here. It will come in handy to identify the solid waste processing sites from where such waste can be, or the soil can be procured. And the specifically inorganic solid waste would be used, which is inert, which cannot be decomposed. And that would be used as a raw material. Now we'll take up the Times of India. So we're talking about the arbitrage fund. So the basic meaning of this word arbitrage, we've also discussed this in the context of monetary policy also. The interest arbitrage is the term that we have talked about. So arbitrage basically means the difference. So here in arbitrage funds, it is the difference of the prices which is leveraged. In interest arbitrage, it is the difference between the interest which drives the capital flights from or out of a country. So in case of arbitrage funds, there is price differential, and the price differential is between the cash and the futures market. So generally in the futures market, suppose if you have a positive expectation that the prices are going to increase for a particular company's equity shares, so the future is it is a part of the derivative market. To talk about options and futures, these are traded and invested in the derivatives market. So generally when we have a positive expectation or a positive outlook, so the future prices would be at, we can say, relative premium, or it would be at a relatively higher prices. So what happens in this arbitrage fund is that you buy in the cash market because the prices are a little lower compared to the futures market, and you sell in the futures market. So that prices arbitrage is here leveraged, and you earn profits. So this is the basic meaning. And so what are the benefits? high returns are there, better taxation is there, and this I've mentioned this before also, long-term capital gains tax and the short-term. So short-term is at a higher rate. Short-term is when you're holding your equities or investments for 1 year or less, you'll have to pay 15% tax, and the long-term is 10%, which is lower. So if you're holding for more than 1 year, then you'll have to pay 10%. And when we talk about in case of debt fund, the rich investors, they have to pay the short-term capital gains tax of around 30%. So here, in terms of taxation also, it is better suited in the interest of the investors also. And any kind of risk which is associated, or any kind of, we can say, higher volatility which is associated with the arbitrage funds, so these are more high on safety, so even the risk is less. And scheme always has a market neutral position by buying in cash market, and simultaneously you can sell same security in the futures market also. So you have the option of getting it converted into the future. So that is why you're able to sell this, the stock from the cash market to the future market. So that is a benefit. And when you compare the returns, so annual returns are somewhere around 7.1%. And if you deposit your money in savings bank account in your bank, so the interest would be somewhere around 3%. So you are getting safely higher returns if you are investing your money in the arbitrage funds. Then asbestos and the health concerns, this we talked about, that asbestos is mined. So for the mining people, mining workers and laborers, the concerns is associated with them, specifically health and the asbestos pollution. So asbestos, why it is mined? It is because it is more durable, it is cheap, it is more competitive. That is why we go for asbestos. And NGT highlights the adverse effects. So National Green Tribunal is there. This is a statutory body. And talk about asbestos containing material, it is regulated under this hazardous and other waste management transboundary movement rules of 2016. So this is asbestos is used in the construction industry. This article we have discussed. Then wood certificate would be giving the information on the source of the forest products. So Environment Ministry, it has recently launched this Praman scheme. So this would be, it would be providing the Indian Forest and Wood Certification Scheme. So provide environmental label would be there, which will be containing information about both domestic and international consumers about the, again, the origin and the source of the forest and the tree-based products. So this will help in allaying the concerns of the green conscious consumers over deforestation and illicit timber trade through this certification. So if you'll be having this information available, there will be a proper label, a green stamp on the product. So if you are basically environmentally aware and conscious, so you will not be going for buying those products. Then cholesterol, talk about high density HDL and LDL. So high density lipids, they are healthy for the body. The LDLs, they are harmful. So we say that cholesterol in its natural form is not harmful to the body. It is inherently, it is not bad, because it also has an important role in the body in terms of building the cells, making vitamins, and even having the hormonal balance. But when it becomes too much, or when we, as we say that everything in its excess quantity is harmful, so even too much of cholesterol is problematic. So here we talk about the treatment. So the conventional method is statins. So it is a type of a drug which is used to lower this LDL in the body. So if it becomes too much concentrated, so it deposits a hard kind of substance in the arteries. So that is when we can say the chances of, or the frequency of getting a heart attack or a stroke increases. As you can see in this picture also, the artery gets blocked because of this hard deposition in the inner walls of the arteries. So statins is a drug, and the problem here is that statins is not suitable for every kind of patient. And then another concern is the, we can say, the side effects that it is also, it has been found that it is responsible for diabetes also. So that's there, and we see 70% of the adults, they are infected, or we can say they are affected because of the LDL also. So we are looking for certain alternatives in which we see that this PCSK9, this is a protein which is being suppressed. It is made in the liver to regulate the LDL. So liver, the bile juice that helps in digestion of fats. So if this protein would be suppressed through the antibodies, so it will not be producing the LDL, which is harmful for our body. So here we are having all the choke points which are there in the world. So you can just go through their names: Panama Canal. We need to know the location: English Channel, Suez Canal, Danish Strait, Bab el Mandeb, Bosphorus Strait. We took this up yesterday, Strait of Hormuz, and in the Indo-Pacific region. So Malacca Strait is important. Lombok Strait is an alternative to the Malacca Strait, so we should remember the name here. So this is the glossary. You can just go through it quickly. Cryptojacking, type of a cyber crime. Cryptojacking involves unauthorized use of the devices such as computers by the cyber criminals to mine for the cryptocurrency. So this is one of the cyber crimes. ATP is advanced threat protection category of solutions that defend against the complex malware. Basically, it is a protection against the cyber crimes. And Daemon, it is a computer program that runs in the background. So it handles things like network connections and hardware activity. So we can remember this term. This is a little bit, say, unique and hard to remember. So that's all. So you can quickly summarize.
फर्स्ट हमने डिस्कस किया था कि मुरादाबाद में जीआई टैग मिला है ब्रास को, जिसके रिगार्डिंग था कि अगर ओवर ईयरली टर्नओवर की बात करें तो 20,000 करोड़ होता है, जिसको हम वन डिस्ट्रिक्ट वन प्रोडक्ट के अंडर और जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत है उसके अंदर भी देख सकते हैं। उसके अलावा हमने डिस्कस किया था आंगनबाड़ी से रिलेटेड जो प्रॉब्लम्स थी कि उनकी सैलरी फिक्स नहीं है, टाइम नहीं है जो जितना होना चाहिए फिक्स, तो उसके लिए उन्हें आंध्र प्रदेश में एसेंशियल सर्विस मैनेजमेंट एक्ट के अंदर ऐड किया गया है। इसके अलावा हमने देखा था कि वेस्ट बंगाल में बाल कन्या विवाह को लेकर था कि कन्याश्री प्रकल्प स्कीम थी और एक थी कन्याश्री स्कीम। इसके रिगार्डिंग था कि जो स्कूल्स में चलाई गई ताकि डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर्स करवाया जाएगा ताकि चाइल्ड मैरिज को रोका जा सके। अगर हम एक्ट की बात करें तो प्रोहिबिशन ऑफ चाइल्ड मैरिज 2021 था जो अभी एनेक्ट नहीं हुआ है। दैट्स इट। करुणा,
हमने बात की मुरादाबाद की, that is famous for brass industry. Then we also talked about Kerala, that is the highest producer of rubber, and the rubber board that comes under the Ministry of Commerce. उसके बाद हमने बात की तमिलनाडु में सेमीकंडक्टर सेक्टर की, कैसे वो ब्लूप्रिंट बना रहा है। उसके बाद हमने बात की IFC 130 जो कि हमने US से लिया है। देन वी टॉक्ड अबाउट जियो सड़क, जिसमें डेटाबेस है जितने भी नेशनल रोड्स है इंडिया में उसके लिए, एंड इंडियाज लैंडस्लाइड सस्पेक्टेबिलिटी मैप जो कि इम्पोर्टेंट एंड क्रूशियल रोल प्ले करेगा। उसके बाद हमने बात की BOD की। जैसे जैसे अमोनिया का लेवल इंक्रीज होता है वाटर में, जो BOD है वो भी इंक्रीज होता है। एंड सोडियम लॉरेट सल्फेट जो कि वाटर में जो डिटर्जेंट होते हैं उनके शायद सोर्सेस से आता है। उसके बाद that is all from geography perspective.
Okay, thank you everyone. We will take up next newspaper tomorrow. Due to Sarkari.